It's dark. When you don't know where you are and how you've come to be there, even the simplest things can be surprisingly frightening. So it was then Walter woke. His consciousness confused and hazy. The things he had fixated on was the darkness. A darkness so thick and oppressive that it could have been a blanket. Perhaps it was, for all that the disoriented boy knew. A quick rustle around his immediate area made it clear that no, he was not bound or covered with anything in particular. It was just dark. He'd been awake for a few minutes and his eyes didn't adjust yet, as they normally would. In the back of his mind, Walter rationalized that this must mean that wherever he was, had a true and complete absence of light. There was nothing for his eyes to adjust to, so waiting around in the hopes that he'd suddenly be able to see where he was going was a rather pointless endeavor. He rose to his feet unsteadily and reached out to grab at what? A wall? Anything that might have been there to help him launched off of the ground. Nothing but his fingertips, and after an embarrassing moment of swaying, Walter tentatively took just a few steps forward. He didn't run into anything, so he continued walking, slowly, and with one hand out of his front, one hand to the side, just in case. Hours passed as he walked, or at least he assumed that they did. Total darkness with no exposure to his grounding references of the sun or moon made it a bit difficult to figure out exactly how long he'd been to this place. But Walter knew that logically, if he'd only keep walking, he would eventually end up somewhere. Even if it was a dead end, at least it would be reassuring that he found something concrete in the strange place. Eventually, he was tired. He must have been walking all day, or night? Well, whichever. Either way, it's been a long time. He plops down to the ground, falling a bit too quickly, and yelps a bit of the impact. It's then that he realized that he didn't try to speak or call out until now. This was the first noise he made. How silly of him. What if there was someone else around? Someone else lost in darkness that could help him? Cautiously, Walter tests his voice, calls out and asks, "Hello?" He is surprised by two things. First, that his voice is already too rusty and throaty in just one day in solitude. And secondly, and more importantly, that the sound of his voice does not carry at all. It instantly swallowed up by the same damn darkness that's been surrounding him since he first awoke. This realization sends a chill down his spine, and he tries to distract himself by taking himself into an attempt at sleep. After some hours spent lying there, in the too quiet darkness, he finally succumbed to a deep, dreamless sleep. Waking up in the black is just as disorienting as the second time. That's not what says the same on Walter's second day in wherever it is. He walks just as long as he did the day before, only stopping when his body came to go no further. He shouts a few times but eventually gives up and his voice instantly absorbed, and he decides that his energy will be saved for his journey, rather than needless yelling. This goes on for a while. Days cycle into months, months into years, or so Walter thinks. He doesn't really know. After all, in fact, he's made the decision to delude himself into believing that this perception of time is so messed up that it really has only been a few days. He tells himself this is quite a sickness feeling deep in his stomach that grows strong with every step. Finally, he gives up. He stops walking and sits, then collapses backwards onto the floor, staring up at what would be the sky or the ceiling, but it really is just more darkness. Eventually, his breathing stops. In a quiet, dark world, he found himself in his truly silence once again. Without even the sound of Walter's heartbeat in the darkness to absorb. And that is the end of Walter's story.